Alright guys, today's project, as you can see, we're going to be getting on to some injector issues on this truck. This is 010450. She's got a little cold start issue now. It's South Louisiana, and right now, you know, 75 degrees in the morning, so she's firing up, but she doesn't like waking up. So what's happening is, I think we got issues with tolerances, and I think the injectors being, we're going to try a shim kit on the injectors to see if that space everything out and give it a little bit more tolerance for the cool weather with that thick oil, running 1540 Rotella. And we also have we're also going to drill the new spacer holes in the shim plates. So let's get
Alright, so we're going to unplug this injector. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this one. I need to do two at a time because for the drilling of the spacer plates, as you got to sandwich two of them together to drill a hole. I'll show you the little weep holes that come in. Started on this the other day, and a little rainstorm chased me off of the project, so we're going to get back on it. You can see we already pulled the valve covers. We pulled this master plug that goes on this side, and got access. I actually pulled both valve covers, so we're all ready to go all the way across. And it's a good thing too, while you got your valve covers off, to plug your master plug back in right over the driver's side valve cover, hook your batteries back up, and fire it up with, you know, make sure that you don't have any dirt, dust, or trash that can get in anything, and fire it up and take a look at these injectors. They have little downspouts right here on the top left corners, and that's where they should be spitting oil after each pulse. So it gives you a little something you can check while you're pulling everything off. And if they're spitting good, that's usually you don't have an O-ring issue. If they're spitting sideways or in a weird direction, or one's doing something weirder than the rest, then you got some kind of issue going on with that. So check that out while you got the valve covers off. And it's not a bad idea to do a test run once you do some work under here. And if you got a miss or something, you can actually go injector to injector while it's running and pop off the plug here and see if that is going to make a difference. So this is your solenoid. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep two screws off the solenoid, put this aside, and you take this little spacer plate, and these are the little teeny tiny holes that's supposed to weep all of this thick oil. And you only have 2 to 4 thousandths thickness here. So this thick oil sitting on top of the armature plate, and this thick oil sitting under it, when the tolerances are tight, that millisecond that this pulses, it can't squish that oil out. This truck's been sitting for several days, and it's got all of this oil under there. So we're going to widen these little drain holes, and we're going to get these armature plates off. So keep two screws, take your armature plate and put it down here, your spacer plate, put it down here, run these screws in just a bit, you know, get a few good turns on them. And what you do the armature plate screw, which is a funny little screw here, and they give you new Torx head screws to go back in, so they don't want you reusing these, and you'll see when you start fooling with them, they're kind of moody. Matter of fact, when I started, this one was kind of half-ass stripped on me, so we're going to have a little fun with this one, I'm sure. So you put this spacer plate here so this armature plate can't twist when you go to pull it off. And as with anything, you know, I try and keep everything in a certain order, you know, and I'll show you on my work table. But while we got them off, and we'll see all this oil under here, that's what's causing the problems with the tight tolerances with things wearing out. And actually, I already shimmed these, or not shimmed them, but checked them. I'm gonna have to let me get these screws started. I'll get a feeler gauge and show you guys how to check this. Let me get a rag. Alright guys, so I backed up a little bit and took the spacer plates back off. This is a 2000 shim, comes with the Pensacola diesel kit. So this is your armature plate, and in the center is your armature plate screw. So you want to take your 2000s and see it fits right there, but it won't fit here. You can't really see my hands in the way on the top, but if the 2000s won't get under there on you for your feeler gauge, then tolerances are too tight, she needs to be shimmed. So we're going to go ahead and get set up here and pull the armature plate. So again, you don't want this square armature plate to twist. So we're going to put the spacer plate partially back on. You can hold it with a crescent wrench or something like that, but they suggest just running two of your screws, run them in good so you got a little meat in there to hold, and the flat surface on the spacer plate will allow the armature screw to break off without, or break loose, hopefully not break off, without twisting everything. And it's a little easier than trying to get a crescent wrench in there. Or a funny little, they have a funny head on them, so you really need to be straight on them and try and not only be dead straight, but give a good push. It's a little tiny screw. I think it's only rated at 15 inch-pounds, but the head is hard to stay on. That's why they give you the Torx head screws to replace these with. And that's how that comes off. Okay, so we got these two off, and you can see all the oil that was sitting right here underneath the armature plates running down now. But that spacer plate, let me grab one. That spacer plate sits right here, and it only has these little tiny weep holes. Let me get over here where you can see. Little tiny weep holes, so we're gonna make that bigger so the oil can run out of the bottom when the engine's hot. So we're gonna wipe these up, we're gonna shim these two, and then we'll do the back two. Alright, so once again, I cleaned all of this up. The armature plates. These are the new screws. I don't know if you can see that, but these are replacement screws for changing out these little spline head screws, which I had one that was stripped. Had to do a little work to get him out. So this is how nasty and this oil has kind of spread out, but it was all pooled on top of the magnet right here. So when this thing pulses and tries to pull this armature plate to it, you got oil in between there, and then you have oil in between here and the injector, so it's limiting the travel of that shim. Now this truck right here runs like a champ whenever she's warmed up, or if you have her plugged in and the oil's thin. But if you have a situation where the oil's kind of cool, even on a 50-something degree morning, she's moody as heck. So we're replacing these screws with the Torx head screws, and on the armature plates. And the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to put these in a vise and sandwich these, and the little tiny holes that are in the spacer plates, we're going to ping a little mark right here and drill a 3, which is going to leave an arch drainway, so that when it's sitting on here, the oil can drain through there, and it's going to give us a much bigger drain passage than these little holes here. So this is all ready to go except for the shims, and the shims are so tiny I'm not going to fool with them just yet. Okay, so we got a spring punch right here. We're just going to come over between somewhere just to the side of these holes, because we don't want to get into that. And we have soft jaws in here and a little cloth as a backup. So I'm just going to come right here and take the spring punch, if it'll reset. There we go. Okay, so we got a deal there. We're going to take a 3/16 bit and drill right in between them, so half the arch is in each plate. You see, we're getting a little off, so I'm gonna cock it a little bit. This aluminum is soft. I just want to make sure that I have a good deep channel to get that oil out of there. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so now as these sit, instead of the oil having to stay until it gets the height of this hole, we got this arch where it's flush with the bottom and it can wash out. Now we're going to take a little emery cloth and just kind of dress up these edges, make sure that there's nothing in there that's sharp, smooth it out, no burrs that can come off, and then we're going to clean all of these flakes off of them real good. We don't want that in the motor. So let me get these emeryed up and we'll get back to shimming. Okay, so here we are with this one. So what I'm going to do is just take some emery. I'm going to cup it. Just trying to make sure we got any burrs off. Everything's smooth. Nothing will come off in the motor. Do the other one, and then these will be ready to go back in. And I'm just gonna do 2 at a time, just for the simplicity of keeping track of everything. And also with the you need 2 of these plates to drill them. So if you can see, I'm gonna set these up like this. So when this one is sitting flush, you're gonna have this big old port to drain that extra oil out, and while it's hot, the oil will drain out. And then overnight when it cools and it goes to start in the morning, it won't have any oil in there, plus it'll be respaced with the shims. So let me spray these down with a little brake clean and make sure there's no shavings on them, and we'll get them on the truck. Alright, so we got everything laid out. This is all of them from one side. I'm just wiping the solenoids down, just making them a little easier to grab. You really have to watch. I don't know what the other vendors are doing, but sends you a regular Torx to replace this inverted Torx, and I have jacked up 2 inverted Torxes that came with the kit. They give you 2 per kit for these, And make sure you replace these, because these are a pain in the ass. You can use a 4mm to a 4mm will kind of grab them if you can't get, if you strip out the torque section. But it's kind of, you got to be square on them and put a bind on, you know, push on it hard before you try and crack them. So here's what we're going to do. We got all of our pieces here. I'm going to get all of the notches lined up. I drilled the other ones same way, so we've got oil reliefs in all of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of our armature plates upside down. We're going to do the armatures first. Okay, so you want a little bit more on the top. So we're going to shim the armatures with 4s, and then we're going to use a 3 and a 2 to shim all 4 bolts of the solenoids with the spacer plate to give it just a hair over. Now they have different, the shims are different diameters, and the damn things do stick together really easy. So you really want to rub them in your fingers to make sure you have one. So we're going to put a 4 on each armature plate. So I need to fish out some, and you can shim it and get it exact, but the directions with pen tells you just if it doesn't pass with the 2, this is the 4, but if you can't get the 2 thousandths feeler gauge under the armature plate, just go ahead and shim it with a 4, because a little extra is better. It's better to have a little bit too little and a little bit too less, if that's even a thing. So I'm gonna rub this, make sure that's a 4, and I need one more. But these are different diameter washers, so if you get different sizes spilt on the table for whatever reason, you can spot them pretty easy which size is which. So we got 4s on all of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all 4 of these back on, careful to not lose the shim in the engine, and then we're going to shim these. So let me go stick these back on. Okay, I got 2 of them on because we couldn't really see what was going on, and I'm using the other plate currently. So we're going to take all 4 bolts, we're going to stick them in the solenoid. We're going to put the solenoid face up. This is the spacer with the oil notch at the bottom, but we're not ready for that yet. We're going to take, we got 2 thousandths and 3 thousandths shims. So we're going to take 4 2s out and 4 3s. So we got just a little bit more space on the top of the armature plate than the bottom. Now, like I said, if these little things can get away from you, but each time rub them on your fingers and make sure they don't separate into 2. We're going to put a 2 on each, and you remember we put a 4 on the armature plate, so this is going to be a 2 and a 3, so this will be 5 thousandths on top. So there's 4 there. I'm going to put 4 on this side for the next one, but I don't have the spacer plate off the truck yet. Okay, and we'll put these back in. Alright, and we're going to get some 3s. If I can get the damn bag open. Okay, 3. Alright, so that's going to give us 5 here. Armature plate with the oil galley down. I like to do it this way because you can sandwich the washers that we just put on and they can't fall off. But what you got to do is when you're holding it, make sure you hold this spacer plate, and we're going to get it ready to go on. All right. So again, we have our armature plate with our little shim. Keep it on the top. All of these bars need to be looking front to back, just as they came off. And again, we have our spacer plate as a keeper to keep the armature plate from turning while we tighten it down. Now these little screws, I think I read that they're 15 inch-pounds, but I was also reading that you go snug them and then go just a hair and you're there. No use to get crazy with them. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe up this oil, because that's our big thing that we're trying to do, is not only get everything to have the correct space again, but to get rid of this oil. Because when it's cold, that oil's getting thick and it's causing us travel problems on these injectors. So we're gonna get this spacer plate popped in. Get an armature, drop it in the hole. All right. I know my hands are in the way, but not a whole lot of room to work. Like I say, just these take a little finesse. They don't take a lot of muscle. All right, so we're gonna take this off. I always kind of center these armature plates once we get them tight. That way when you come with the solenoid and the spacer plate, it'll all fit on there. All right, there we go, we got that off. All right, so here is a solenoid. I'm gonna get my holes lined up and work it down. There we go. Get these all started by hand. I got this pink rag in here because, excuse the bump, there's a drain for the head right there, and I don't want to accidentally knock anything down. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I do them crisscross. I just run them up and get them tight, get them a little snug, and then I come back and put a little tightening on them. I'm gonna go back and get them plugged in later, but once I get them all done, I know I have one glow plug, and I don't remember which one it is, that didn't ohm out. So I'm gonna replace it while I'm in here. All right, let me snug this. And like I said, you don't have to get crazy, because you can judge from the way that you took them off, kind of how tight they need to be. They don't need to be much. All right, this one's gonna be the same thing. Let me go get some spacers together. I'll throw that on and give you a few comments after that. All right, so we got all of our injector shimming done, and we had a bad glow plug, so we changed that out too. Pretty sure you guys can figure out the glow plug thing. If not, I'm pretty sure I got a video on glow plug stuff from another earlier project. So let's see, she's been real moody on cold starts. It's about 70 degrees this morning, so I don't think she's gonna not start, but usually she'd be a little cackly and rough running. And so we got the shimming done, we got the new ports drilled, which I don't think I got to show you guys.
we had some weather and whatnot. So let's see what she does. Let's fire up. Well, that certainly answers the question about whether shimming will do anything with these injectors. All of these, I think I forgot to test 2 of them with the 2000s feeler gauge, but all the other 6 did not pass, meaning the 2000s feeler gauge wouldn't get under them. So we ended up just shimming everything on here. 4 thousandths on the underside of the armature plate and 5 thousandths between the armature plate and the solenoid. The shim kit with all the tools. The little armature bolts were a pain in the butt. You got to get dead straight on them. So next project on this truck is going to be pulling the turbo and changing the turbo seals. So we're going to do that on the next video. So we'll see y'all on that project when on the next video. All right.